John, a year ago we talked often about Pierre-Luc's move to center and how much it helped you guys as the season went along. I know it's not to the same level, but what has the ability of Boone being able to move to center and stay there helped you guys along the way here?
Well, it's given us obviously that line is a very important line for us, just as how they play remind us how to play. When we moved him there, I remember before we put him there, take him out, we really just wanted to give him a chance there. And it's through, and I'm not, it's just through our middle of the ice. We're trying to figure that out to try to get some more consistency, and it gives him an opportunity. And I think his game has been probably the most consistent I've seen since I've coached him at that position. So again, he kills penalties. He's not on the power play right now because we just think other things are working. But he's such an important guy, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work there. But he's been a huge part to the middle of the ice that we're really trying to find an identity with.
And just to follow up, how much did you miss in those 3 games that he was out with the infection?
Yeah, well, you saw how he played. I'm not going to lay it all on Boone, but yeah, it puts a hole. I think our center ice is still a work in progress of trying to find some consistency through it. Has been well chronicled as far as the gut of our ice. When you lose a guy like that and the minutes in the way he plays in the middle of the ice, yeah, that's a big hole. So he's been real good. When he's come back, he's been really good for us.
Coach, there are times when you say, given circumstances or settings, that Columbus has a chance to be a hockey town, and you seem to take a lot of pride in that. Is this a week when all eyes are on you and you have that chance?
You know, I don't look at the week. I look at the Washington Capitals tonight. You know, it's a team in front of us. I hope our guys are looking up and not behind us. It's a team in front of us, a really good team, Stanley Cup champion. So I'm. You're not going to get me into that role as far as looking at the week. We have enough work to do ahead of us tonight in this 60-minute game. We need to find some consistency and style on how to play at home. It's been a very inconsistent part of our game this year. Tonight's a good game to start to try to get it on the right track.
Kind of want to piggyback on that. Looking up, like this is a team you could have been up. You were one shot away from being up 3-0 last year. You're 2-1 against them this year. They win the cup. Like, how close is this team with this roster when it plays its best to making a run?
Yeah, I think we're a really good team. I think we've progressed. I think guys have continued to improve the play on the ice. I think the biggest thing for us right now as an organization is in the locker room, the inner pressure that goes on into a locker room where it kind of self-sustains. I think we're still trying to figure that out, where it's not a coach or a manager or someone else going in there to try to push along and try to get people playing consistently. I think it needs to come from the players. I think that's the next step for us, is how we handle that locker room. And quite honestly, Nick, I think it's been a really interesting season this year with all the stuff that started on in our room right from the beginning of the year, how they've handled themselves. And they've done a really good job of that. So it's been a good test for them. Now we're getting into the grind of the season here. Things are beginning to shake out and shape and where you're at. That's where the pressure and the inner push from in the room is very important.
I know you just said you don't want to look at the week, but I wanted to ask, this week between now and the deadline, how much will that affect what you do?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said a couple weeks ago when we talked about the deadline, I think all teams are affected by the deadline. I think all players are always looking what's going to happen. Are we going to lose people? Or there are so many teams that are still in the battle here for the spot. It's really interesting what's going to happen for me too at the deadline. But in that locker room as players, I'm sure all teams are going through it. I think we're in a good place as far as our mental part of that, because I think it's been around us all year long, and so we're just like any other team. You take each game at a time, take each day at a time, And what comes our way, and just keep on fighting.
John, on that style of play, you had a couple guys block shots at the end of the game in Vegas. Are you getting closer to the buy-in level that you need here now in this last 26 or whatever it is?
Yeah, I think the Vegas game, as I stated to you guys, that whole Western trip, we were okay. We were a little bit better than okay in the Arizona game. I thought that the Vegas game was one of our better games, where we had to chase it a little bit at the end. We didn't give. We found a way. A lot of our game was good against Vegas. And then to finish the game that way, we're Savvy and Nick, and we're just giving up everything, selling out to try to preserve that win. I think that's really good for the camaraderie. So are we there? I don't know. I mean, if you ask me 7, 8 games from now, and we're still doing the same things that we did in the Vegas game 7 or 8 games from now, I say, yeah, man, we're pretty consistent here. Quite honestly, on the 3-game road trip, we did it for 1 game. So this is a good test for us here tonight. Hopefully, we can play the same way.
Hi, John. This is Cam Atkinson's 500th game.
Is it?
Yeah. For him, 6th-round pick, always written off as being too small, especially the last chunk of maybe 100 or whatever games. How much has he grown? How instrumental is he? What do you see in him that's maybe different than you did when you got here?
Well, the thing that comes to my mind, and I say it all the time, when I first started coaching Cam a few years ago, when he had a good game, he was strutting around and thinking he had all the answers. Forgot how to prepare for the next game because he thought it was just going to come to him. I think he's really learned how. He's turned into a really good pro. That's what I think's happened here. Is just as far as his readiness, I think he's always working on that part of the game. I think he's made tremendous strides there. And we talk about this guy, that guy on our team. Who's the most important? Cam Atkinson is. I put him in every situation, and I'm not so sure there's a more important guy on our club than that guy, other than your goaltender. I'm not sure who's more important, and we put an A on him because we think he deserves it. I think he's accepted that responsibility. Has had some valleys here. We try to jump on those valleys because I think it's a great time to teach him still. But I think he has really found himself mentally as far as how important he is to the team, and I think he's really worked at being ready to go every game.
John, Marty was out there today. It's a process, I know, having him work with the club, but what can you share from your perspective, how that's going, where you see him adding in? It's
great. I sat with Marty, we did some videos. He was showing me some video that he showed some players yesterday. When we got booted out of here with the gas, Marty ended up meeting with 2 players. I think a lot of people, it's a little misconceived here. Yeah, he's doing a lot of work with Lars in the power play. He's a lot more involved than that. As far as dealing with some players that have struggled. Like I told Marty today when we were going over the tape and Woody showed a couple of guys, I said, I can't explain that. I mean, it is so good that a guy that sees that and has experienced that play or tried to make that play is able to talk to these guys. Who the hell am I to talk about those plays with them? So that's what's really cool about this. And I watch them today in practice. I watch the players. They're all gravitating to him. Ask him a couple of questions, just banging around with them. And I'm not sure where it goes, but he's had a tremendous influence already in just a short time he's been with us.
You may have already alluded to this, but you told us he put his number up on the board for the guys to contact him. Do you have any read on how much that's happening away from when they're on the ice?
Yeah, and it's I have to be really careful there because I don't think the guys want to talk to me. I don't think they're interested in Marty giving me information on what they talked about. So I try to stay away from that. I leave that up to Marty. And Marty met with some players the last time he was in here, didn't talk to me about it at all. He came in and talked to me today about it. So I leave it up to Marty as far as what he thinks he can share. Because I think that's really important in this situation is I think they're going to talk more freely. And I think Marty sees the game differently. And so there's a lot of things going on with him, and he'll come to me. If he needs to talk to me, he'll talk to me. I don't seek him out and ask questions. I'm not going to do that.
John, just goaltender and lineup changes tonight?
Lineup changes tonight. It's the same lineup and same goalie.
With Bob, if you look at the raw numbers on that road trip, they weren't necessarily the greatest, but 3-0, and he makes huge saves that maybe just don't show up in the save percentage because they're just so big. How good was he on that trip?
Yeah, he certainly has found more of his game here than, you know, it was inconsistent for the last little while, but he has really stepped up. I think starting from that game prior to the break in Mini, when I thought he was outstanding there. We just did nothing for him in front of him as far as scoring goals. I think it really started working there, and it has taken off since then. So made some really big saves at key times to keep us there in Vegas. Yeah, so this is as close as I've seen Bob being Bob, if I can put it that way, really throughout the year. Good. Thanks, guys.